I thought about my mother, my grandmother, my great-great-great-grandmothers, and what they must have thought about as slaves, um, bringing life into this world. And, we just decided that we were going to live. We were going to live, we're going to struggle, and we're not going to kill our own hopes. We're not going to kill our own life. We're not going to kill our right to live. And so we just decided to be human beings, to be people. In spite of all the people that were trying to squash us down and all the forces that were trying to dehumanize us, we decided to be human.
But if you be that young, yeah, you might have to just take some time for yourself, and really prioritize, your well-being.
Right. And I haven't been like I should, so I think if I could get everything like lined up, I could do all the things I want to do. I'm still adjusting to having 2 children, and I feel a little bit weak saying that. Because I know women with 5 children who are like going to school, working full time, and doing a whole 9. But
your individual struggle,
right?
If I were you, I wouldn't measure my experience by anyone else's. No matter what anybody else is going through, you still have, a right to that experience and to really acknowledge the need for support.
Mm-hmm.
The support of who you have around your tribe, because it's an adjustment, and there's no shame in it.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right, and that's something that I know it's been one of my struggles since childhood. Kind of like trying to make sure I'm strong, I'm good, and then comparing myself to others who I consider, strong and, they got it worked out, and trying to make sure that not in like a competition or jealous kind of way, but more so I want to be better. I want to be able to handle everything like I see so-and-so handling everything, like that sort of thing. So, but
I get what you're saying. I guess my question would be, what if you're not okay? What if you don't have it all together? What if you have totally screwed it up by whoever's standards? Then what?
Right. Well, really, by my own standards. The only thing, yeah, that I think that the answer to that question is that unlocks all my doors.
Mm-hmm.
That unlocks all my doors.
I hear what you're saying, but what I hear is the need for radical self-care.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a life lived under the judgment of others that has now become your personal judgment checklist. And that's not exclusive to you. That's just, the nature of being a Black girl out here in the world. But, yeah, the only remedy to that is radical self-care. And so far, I see.
You're absolutely right. That's something that I've been thinking about, what that looks like for me, like individually, like Larisha. What does that look like for Larisha to take care of myself and, to be doing the things that make me feel peace or balance, and I know that's like you said, that's the nature of being, growing up Black in America, throughout the diaspora. Like for me personally, I really have to write out my list of what that looks like for me, just so I can start to cultivate those habits of taking care of myself. Because nobody's going to take care of me the way I'm going to take care of me,
Right, right.
That I require.
I don't know. To me, beyond just, it being the plight of being Black in America, it's like the plight of being a woman of color, and living the life of a woman of color here in this place, you know, which obviously isn't the easiest thing to do. And I think that any, you know, I think any woman of color who is looking to be free, who's looking to heal, who's looking to do any of the things we might call the work, they're going to come up to this place where you're really going to have to, you know, basically have a life audit of some sort. And I think that, you know, and really decide and figure out what works and what doesn't, and what really, where's my medicine for real, you know, whether that's bitter or sweet, right? And I think that one of the challenges we have as women, amongst the many, many, many challenges, is we've lost our rituals. We don't embrace ritual. And I think that without ritual, because self-care is a ritual. Self-care is a series of rituals. And what ritual does is it reorients us, and it reorients spirit and centers us in spirit. And it also sort of tracks transformation. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is that ritual really allows for the community to affirm that you've been changed and you're growing, or that you've entered another space, and it really dictates the need for a different type of support as a result of the space you're in. So, you know, depending on the society, as an example, you being a new mother, you know, my opinion would be what should have happened was ritual to affirm, support, and acknowledge this rite of passage that you've experienced, and now give the tools that are going to be necessary as you kind of go through this next phase of life auditing and, you know, employing the technology necessary for you to live in the manner that you choose. You know, and that absence of ritual, I mean, and I think when people hear ritual, I don't know what it is that they think, but really it's about transformation, I believe. And I think the most common ritual we know of is the ritual of marriage, right? On a basic level, you know, even though I find it problematic, I think on a basic level, two people go in, they have this ritual, they were already together, but they have this community acknowledgement, right? This ritual that says you're officially together. And it changes something in the psyche. These two individuals now walk out as one unit. And that impression, psychologically, spiritually, creates transformation.
Right.
You know? So I think that part of centering ourselves is sort of centering spirit, centering ritual, and, you know, that self-care, you know what I mean, is central to it all.
Right. Something you just said about centering, you know, I got up, I took a nap yesterday. No, this was maybe, what's today? Thursday, so maybe Monday. I woke up from a nap and I went in the kitchen, and I started, like, I went on like a cleaning frenzy, right? And not frenzy, but I got a rag and my cleaning supplies, and I just started spraying everything down the walls, the floors, the cabinets, the stove, and I just started wiping things, just wiping everything down. And I looked at my husband and I said, I feel like this is probably one of the most sacred rituals someone like me can do, because I am, how do I put it? I don't want to say that I'm lazy by nature, but I mean, okay, so my son is in Taurus, and I've never met a Taurus out of all the, like, I have a lot of friends, and they're all, you know, various signs. I know about 4 Tauruses, and none of them are neat, right? I don't know if that's a Taurus trait, but I know I'm several signs and several houses and the whole nine, but cleaning, for somebody like me who naturally just wants to settle into my space, and I'm not really, like, concerned with how neat things are, organizing my space and making it neat is almost like doing the things that are necessary but uncomfortable. I don't know exactly where I'm trying to go with it, but to me, those rituals are the most, right now for where I am, those are the most, what's the word for when you feel, or when things are falling into place around you, affirming or,
I guess those rituals are most in alignment with where you are right now.
right.
It's what you can, it's what you can do for where you are.
Yeah. But I mean, what do you think, where are we, I guess it's individual to each person, right? The areas that you might be, that you need to kind of, like put all your ducks in a row or gather all your pieces so that way you can clear a path for where you wanna go. Like what are some of the things that, generally speaking, we as Black women, women of African descent, what we can do here and now individually and possibly even collectively to kind of clear out a path and start moving towards our goals?
Well, I think a number of things. The first thing I'd say is that we are already not only moving towards our goals, but actively manifesting them. Black women are amongst the most successful group of women, at least educationally and in terms of new businesses, small business owners, and just kind of revolutionizing the game in multiple industries on multiple levels. And we do this against all odds and with having everything against us. And I think it's really, really important to affirm the work that sisters are out here doing on the ground, whether they're getting the recognition and the clout or not. And it really affirms our power. It affirms the notion that we are always in a position of actively manifesting our dreams, whether that dream happens to be freedom, happens to be equality, happens to be returning back to the sacred Black primordial mother from whence we all came. That's what we've been out here doing. And anybody
exactly
ain't talking the facts, because the facts are we always been out here putting in work. That's what Black women do. We are the work. So it is what it is. But for those of us trying to up our game or continue to become familiar with more dynamic and powerful ways of manifesting and doing our work, I would say what's paramount is a dedicated practice of ancestral worship. I think that if we don't have our ancestors on point and bossed up, ready to really go in for us, we ain't working with much, because the ancestors are why we are here. I think aside from an ancestral practice, we need a practice that is woman-centered and really grounded in worship, the worship and internalization understanding of the sacred Black feminine. Right. And I know people are out here with the Moorish stuff and they choose to identify in different ways, but I'm using the term Black very decidedly, very intentionally, because I think there's a lot of power in the fact that we originate from the original Black mother. And I think that without our ancestors in alignment and a woman-centered practice, we can't even begin to sort of conceptualize what our power is and what the possibilities may even be. What fixing our lives even looks like,
Right.
I'm like, how do we even know what right looks like until we get back to the ancestors and our mother? Because everything globally tells you that everything that is in your nature and is of your mother, of your origins, is evil. So we don't have a model without those two things,
Right.
And after we center our ancestors, we center the mother, we center spirit, and by extension ourselves, because that's what that's about, we have to center both our spiritual education and mundane education, because those are really going to be the tools that give us the ability to do whatever it is we want to do.
Right.
And I mean, in my opinion,
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. And that's the consensus, I believe, for a lot of sisters who, and not just sisters, but in general, we are all coming into this understanding. And not only are we coming into it, a lot of us are already there. And you see it like when you look at the culture of sisterhood within the communities, and how, like, regardless of what we call ourselves or how we identify, religiously speaking, we still we can still pull each other, correct each other and move forward from there, and not to say that ego doesn't get in the way and people don't get offended, but it's like the more open and honest we are with each other, the better these scenarios start to come together. The better, the more the road opens, So, I saw, and I wanted to talk about, I wanted to ask you, for those sisters who are just coming into an understanding of the fact that, or the idea of who God is, or the idea that there are what we call gods, deities that look like us, that are reflections of them. How do you encourage our people, or people period, who are coming into this notion to show respect to the traditions, to understand that it's a little bit problematic to just throw a name in place of yours of, one of the great mothers or the great fathers, to just start calling yourself a name, or to start identifying with characteristics because you feel like they match yours, without really understanding how, these type of divinations come about, so that you can, like, how do you just encourage people to respect and kind of slow their roll and learn, the difference between, like you said, a devotee and a priestess. Like, everybody's not necessarily meant to come in as a priestess or a leader of the faith that they have no context of.
So, I would answer that on multiple levels. I mean, that's a loaded question, honey. But
yeah.
I would answer that on multiple levels. Whew, where do I even begin with that? First of all, I would say that in order to respect the tradition, you have to be involved with the tradition and follow the rules of the tradition, because there's a place where African and African-inspired traditions are that, devotion is shown through adherence to the protocol on a certain level. It's out of respect for the divinities, the ancestors, and the technology that we do things in a certain way. And a word on technology, I think that disrespect oftentimes comes from a place of ignorance. And people can forgive, unintentional ignorance. What people can't forgive is egotistical, unabashed, willful ignorance. And that's what we're encountering. No priest I know is telling people you don't belong here. What I do hear priests is, you have a call, you have a gift, come and learn how we use this in this context and what it is that our ancestors have dictated for us to do. Because although Western individualistic society and thought tells you that it's all about you, African tradition tells you the exact opposite. You're the last thing it might be about.
Exactly.
And even deeper than that, it's about your destiny, because your destiny is vital to the community. You have a role. And my thing is, you can't give us or share with us your gifts if you don't take the time to cultivate and develop them within the practice. The other thing I would say is if you really want to worship this deity you feel so attracted to, you feel such a pull to, why do you disrespect the priesthood the deity itself has created and dictated? You know,
Right.
Why do you disrespect the people that this deity has specifically chosen to worship them in a certain way?
Right.
But you say at the same time, you love this deity, you feel attracted to this deity has helped you, but you have no respect for the deity's mysteries, practices, or rules. How does that work?
Right.
There's a disconnect there.
Mhm. That gave me a broader, because I never, put anybody, no goddess's name in place of mine. I didn't, go around boasting. Oh, that's like, I remember when I'll give you an example. When I was in college, the people who came in as freshmen and said that they wanted to, they were talking out loud about, what they wanted to pledge. I want to be a Delta. I want to be a AKA. You go around hollering what you want to do, and you're automatically, and not to say that it works like this, it just reminds me of that. Once you, the ones that you were screaming and hollering about are the ones that are actually, they're not even interested in you. Because you didn't come in with a certain level of respect of, or decorum, or, you didn't really have, you came in kind of like foolish. You didn't come in with your mind right. And what I also found out was that the deity that you feel you have, the characteristics of, you feel like you can be closely associated with this one or that one, is actually it couldn't be anything further from, once you get the reading done and you find out who actually has your head, or, who you're going to initiate.
I would answer that a couple of ways, because you said a couple of things that raised my eyebrow. The first thing, doubling back to your question before, I think the best way that a person not in this religion could show respect is to learn its proper protocols, and that comes through connecting with a priest, a legitimate priest, a legitimate community, and actually taking the time to make the effort to learn and develop under the guise of someone who has been trained to do this. That's the first piece. The second piece you were talking about here, you get the reading. Here's the deal. Orisha are not astrological signs. Your personality doesn't necessarily always match up with, the Orisha or whatever. It's not a horoscope. And you could, the other thing is you could be a child of so-and-so Orisha, and that may not even be the Orisha you get initiated to, because you may need the medicine of another Orisha. It's not all about that. And so that always disturbs me. Another thing that disturbs me is people believing that their heads are just marked from a reading. And I think that deserves clarification. Okay? And this is where the lack of education comes in. First of all, in terms of Lukumi, well, let's talk about Orisha tradition. Orisha tradition is not some monolith. There are numerous Orisha traditions, okay? You have the traditions that come out of Brazil, out of Trinidad, out of Cuba, out of Nigeria. I mean, there are multiple traditions of Orisha. Within most of or many of the traditional Nigerian, or what we call Isheshe traditions, if your reading is normally done by an Awoifa, and in some cases I've also heard of Olorisha doing readings, they may mark your head, and they may tell you, hey, you're a child of so-and-so, this is what the Odu says, etc. Okay? And for those who are not familiar, an Olorisha is a person who is initiated to Orisha, an owner of Orisha. A Babalawo or an Iyanifa, or in some cases, depending on who you're speaking to, an Iyalawo. is a person, male or female, who is initiated into Ifa. A Baba Larisha or Iya Larisha, at least in terms of Lukumi, which is Cuban and diaspora Orisha tradition. And a Baba Larisha or Iya Larisha would be an Olarisha who has actually given birth, meaning they've initiated someone else.
Okay.
So that needs clarification. So from an Nsheshe perspective, they may get their head marked in a reading. From the perspective of Lukumi, that is not how that goes. And they should not expect, that's important to say. They should not expect to get a reading from a Lukumi priest and know who their head is.
Right.
Within Lukumi, there are two ways to mark a head. And marking a head means finding out who, your parent or tutelary Orisha or guardian angel, as some people may say, is. Okay? Within Lukumi, there are two ways. The first way, if you're a Lukumi house who also works with Ifa in that way, it will be marked by a Babalao, normally during a plante or when a person is receiving their hand of Ifa, known as Awofakan or Ikofa in Lukumi Ifa. All right? Aside from that, their head would be marked by what is called an Oriate, okay, which is an Orisha priest.
Okay.
Ceremony. That's a specific reason. That's not your really important
Hello?
for them to know. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah.
See, so essentially what you're saying is it's not pump your brakes. It's way more to it than just reading up on something in a Google search and then saying, this is what I'm going to do with my life. You have to devote yourself. It's a tradition. It's a very deep-rooted tradition, and you have to devote yourself to the study of it if you're serious about learning.
Yeah.
So, and you have to be humble.
Right. And they are deep traditions, plural. That's the thing. It's not cookie cutter or anything. There are lineages and traditions and things differ. You really got to get more educated on what it is before people just start talking all willy-nilly, because it's much deeper. And then I think another thing of note, in terms of Lukumi at least, there's a concept where the head can change. So you may get your head marked Oshun one day, and 10 years later you decide to get initiated, and it's not Oshun anymore. So unless a person is getting ready, to make Ocha, meaning get initiated, I don't even understand why they need their head marked. Everyone's a child of Obatala until your head is marked. He's the molder of humankind. So,
Right. Thank you so much for clarifying that. I'm pretty sure that's going to help a lot of people. Like anybody that listens to this episode, they are in for an awakening. So I really appreciate that, and that's all of it is said with love. It's not, to disrespect or hurt anybody's feelings. It's to make you aware that you don't want to get yourself hemmed up in, misunderstanding. Just, go and seek understanding. These are things that we should be doing anyway. Like you said, as human beings, we should be seeking understanding, knowledge and wisdom. So,
the thing I really want to say to sisters on this piece is I definitely not, I'm not hating on anything. Everyone acknowledges that, you're magical, you're gifted, you're destined for this. Yes, you could have a road in this. It's a given. You're Black women. Of course, all of these things are true. What is being suggested is come learn your stuff. Come learn it the way your ancestors left it for you, because the reality of spiritual technology has to be acknowledged. Things are done in terms of ritual to achieve a specific end. There's a why behind it. And so when you don't understand the why and do the studying, you do yourself a disservice, because this is your stuff And you're saying that you don't have the, whether it's the wherewithal, the time, whatever, to really learn what's yours.
Right. Right. And that says a lot about you, you know, your willingness to learn, your willingness to go into a tradition. If you're claiming it from the outskirts, you might as well step into it and learn as much as you can. So I thought it was an instance of, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and learn it in its full power. Learn it in its full power, because you have ancestors who died for this, for you to receive this in this way. So it's a disrespect on multiple levels, you know, and it's a disrespect to the same people you claim are empowering all this spookiness you got going on. Nobody's hating. I love my sisters. You know what I'm saying? I love seeing Black women come on through and cut up. I love it.
Right.
Okay, because that's what we do. But there's a testament to the fact that our goddess lineages have never been broken. Through whatever, they are still here with the mysteries intact. There's pride in that. There's something to be proud of in there. You know?
Yeah. Well, I know, one of the things that we were discussing too, well, I was having a conversation with another sister about how to, I feel like, all right, it's a couple of ways to approach this, right? When you have the same issues that you have in all religions, all groups. You have people who are easy to take advantage of, and you have people who are looking to take advantage of others, right? Me personally, I have a very strong distrust for, I guess, male practitioners of any, men period, honestly. But male practitioners, leaders, spiritual elders, spiritual leaders who are men, because I've seen so many instances where they will, you know, like kind of slide up in your head and try to, sway you one way or another just to have sex, or, like for different reasons. They have various tactics, but, like how would you encourage sisters to kind of be on the lookout to, beware of that kind of energy? And is that as big a problem as I think it is in my mind?
Well, I have a couple of answers to that. Well, yes, it most definitely is a problem. Abuse, molestation, even rape is a problem in these communities. Charlatans, whether they're taking people for their behind or their coin, is a real problem. But I want to be very realistic here. First of all, it is not exclusive to men. There are a lot of female predators out here, whether their predatory behavior comes out in terms of financial manipulation or emotional. I have encountered that myself. I have encountered unscrupulous elders, which is why I'm really passionate about telling people, nah, this is what you got to look for. I want to be clear that even male or female, you need to be looking at everybody. You need to be looking at their character, where they come from, who they studied with. Do they have any references? Does anybody know them? Because these are tight-knit communities, and somebody knows everybody. For any priest to be initiated, be witnesses. Nobody's getting initiated on the low. So somebody.
Right.
That's the first thing. The other thing I want to say is, and this is not to lessen anything my sisters are experiencing. I've experienced it too. But men are also being abused and taken advantage of out here as well. And I think it's important to have that conversation, because women are disproportionately affected, but men are getting this. Okay. So it's on everybody's side. So it's a fun spectrum. to do the research, do their due diligence, verify, check references, and really watch a person's character. Do you even get along with this person before you want to take it to the level? Okay, because these traditions are about relationships. You know, you can't in a relationship, this is not going to work, whether the person is being predatory or not. In addition to that, I would say, you know, the abuse is definitely a problem. And I think it has to do with us not necessarily as a culture dealing with sexuality and spirituality in a way that's really holistic, upfront, and healing. And that's right. We have to own that. And because we're conjuring all this really potent sexuality and, you know, and we're vibrating that, we're attracting that, we do have these issues. We need to have education and these conversations. And it's also important for people to share their story. If something is going on, don't forget the authorities, you know, don't forget to speak about what's really going on, let people know, put it on blast. I'm really supportive of people sharing their story and putting unscrupulous people on blast. If that's how they handle it.
Right. I was about to go into that about, cause it's like you said, it's not just, male or the men abusing the women. There are also women who, you know, like you said, are financially exploiting or, you know, sexually exploiting even, you know, so it's just, yeah, which is all a part of a larger, you know, it's all power plays, you know, at the end of the day, people like, you know, but.
Absolutely. And I think that people have to realize that our community is not only not, you know, the exception to any sort of power issue. If anything, we should expect it to be exacerbated in our communities because of the multiple systems of oppressions we carry and the multiple levels of stigma. You know, you got to remember that we were out here doing this before it was cool to do so. And I think there's still a lot of shame around having certain conversations and being very public with things because we've been very successful with being very secretive. We are still here because of being secretive. You know, and so I think that this is where we're back to education again, because being in the culture, getting out of, you know, Google and actually talking to people and connecting with real people is where it becomes really beneficial, because then you get to see that these are lived experiences, not some abstract thing on Facebook or in a group. These are like actual people with their families raising their children that have had to deal with governmental bodies or institutions or schools or whatever, hiding their practice in a certain way and having to adjust, you know, to all the people who had the privilege of Abrahamic religion. So, there are cultural and social reasons to consider and to really look at, to really understand what's happening in these communities.
Right. Absolutely. Well, So again, like you said, anyone who's interested, they can just reach out to a priest or a priestess, reputable, and seek out information.
Absolutely. I've had many people do that. Many priests will do that if you just, you know, and you don't have to know anything. I think that's one of the other challenges. People, you know, they say, oh, I don't even know what to say, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to know how to say anything. But hello, how are you? Introduce yourself. Say, you know, I'm really interested in learning more. Is there anyone you could recommend, you know, in my area or this, that, whatever? And just ask for a recommendation. You know, if you like them, ask them if they take people on, or do they do readings, or how can you connect with them? It literally can just be a conversation.
Right. Okay. All right. So that all of that is all so accessible and simple It's just broken down to the, when you break it down to, understandable parts, and, people can really see how simple it really is, but intense as well, because it is rigorous. I can only imagine,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I've been through a number of initiations, and I can tell you it definitely puts, you to the test.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I have never, I haven't been, initiated into, Ifa or Lukumi or Palo. I have an elder who is in the Hoodoo tradition, and anytime you devote yourself to the study of something, know that it requires you to first look at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to be ready to face every part of you. And most people stop right there before they even get to anything, because that's where your power is. It is in knowing who you are. It's in facing every dark, nasty, slimy part that's under rocks that you don't want to look at or pay attention to, and it's bringing it to the top so you can wash it, shine it up. Like we don't want to do that part of the work. Most of us, we want to cover up. We want to cover it up with clothes or with makeup or with hair or with, accomplishments, or, we don't want to really like strip down, and if you're not ready to strip down, then you could go to church. No offense to, my Christian family. I really feel like we gotta be willing to really like look at self. Especially sisters, because to me, the most powerful sisters are the ones who are the most self-aware.
I mean, at the end of the day, we have to do our work, and I think that the most powerful people, period, especially sisters, are the ones who are doing the work without. And I'm not going to say without fear, because we all experience fear. It's what we do with that experience that is really going to dictate the game. And I want to double back to the comment on covering it up, with makeup, with hair. I challenge the notion that our upkeep, or maybe even having makeup, weaves, whatever, makes us any less.
Oh, no. Oh, don't be. I'm not saying that I love makeup, and I would, if I could braid my hair down and throw a weave on top, and when I figure out how to, I'm definitely doing it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not anti-makeup. I'm not. No, ma'am. I'm with the shits. I'm with all of that. But
it's important to make that distinction, because I keep hearing debate online, and I'm not with it. I'm not about to shame a black woman about the top of her head. That's, I'm not speaking to necessarily you, but to where people take that comment.
Right.
But I do think we have to be willing to do the work, and those are the most powerful people, the ones doing the work. And even in the process of digging, you get to something that isn't so pretty. You get to something that doesn't make you as happy. I think it's important to have that experience and learn how to sit with that, sit through that, and make decisions forward. It's not always about, because I think there's some type of obsession with positivity that creates an imbalance. It makes people feel, I think people feel like if they tell the truth and call a spade, that makes them some negative thing. And then you have the negativity coming.
Right, absolutely, exactly.
And I think part of doing the work is really sitting in authenticity, no matter where you are, whether that's fearful and rageful, whether it's some other ugly feeling, whatever it is, and being willing to actually understand what that is, okay, and what to do. That's really powerful to me. And I think that those are some of the tools Orisha worship gives you, because in cultivating your relationship with Orisha and with your Ori, your head, your divine self, your Godhead, if you will, you're taking a look at self. Orisha is going to bring up everything in you, good or bad, and you're going to be challenged. You know.
Yep.
I would certainly test your constitution. I would say any of these traditions are kind of just designed to test your constitution in a certain way.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I'm not one of those. I'm not to disrespect anybody for their own personal opinion, but anytime you put somebody down or you got something negative to say about a sister because of how she expresses herself like that, that should be corrected. You know,
yeah.
I have no problem with the ways that we present ourselves. We are not one-dimensional. We'll never be one-dimensional, ever. Like, we'll always be varied and layered, and it's all beautiful to me, you know.
Right. Shame. That's right. You know, I think that's important. I see a lot of that judgment back and forth, and even the sisters that claim, you know, to be out here helping and healing, you don't have to shame Black women into their healing. You don't have to judge them into acting right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We kind of have a tendency to act right in nature, and life gets us acting other ways. Okay? So, the tools, you know what I'm saying, without all the judgment.
Right, exactly. And I think that's why I really love doing these interviews, because I feel like, you know, we have so many, first of all, we got a lot to talk about, you know. We got a lot to talk about. We have a lot to unpack. And I feel like these conversations of, you know, based on embracing us and loving us, it really, it really does help a lot of people, you know. It helps me. It helps me first. I do it for myself, but I also want to make sure that I can give what my overflow and, any ways that I can think to present more, I really, I want to do that. Like you said, and to really get on the ground, get out into our communities. And that is also, that's how, who I want to reach out to. I want to talk to people who work in the community, people who are actively healing others just by being who they are, you know.
People doing the work.
So I really appreciate it. Yes, absolutely.
You know, it's sisters doing powerful work out here, priestesses doing powerful work out here, whether they are, root workers and conjurers, or they are Orisha priests, Ifa priests, voodoo priests. There are sisters that are doing some amazing work out here, and they really deserve to just have a platform to be seen, be heard, and have their work recognized.
Right. Then we don't celebrate each other enough,
Absolutely.
We know we're out here, but we don't thank each other. We don't show each other the love that we deserve. And this is, I'm speaking personally too, because it took a while for me to get to a point where, you know what I mean? And I'm still getting there every day. It's not like, I've arrived. Like, no, I'm working on myself every day. I really want to, implore us to be courageous in that way.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a litany of sisters I will shout out. You know, it's like lots of love to Iafayomi Falade out in Arizona. She is doing amazing work in the Ifa space, training women, uplifting women, and really giving out quality information. Ianifa Fayele, she created EY and ianifa.org. She is another amazing priest doing amazing work out here. Ifalade Tashia Ashanti, she is another amazing priest with a fantastic Ile doing workshops, retreats, helping people to heal and transform. Ian Lavon Zant, everybody sees her work. She's out here changing lives, fixing them, and doing all kinds of stuff. I can think of Ambrosine. She's also in the hoodoo and root work space. She's doing a lot of positive work. Mambo Sandy has been out there giving tons of great information. My mom, La Dea de la Mer, doing amazing work in Haiti and here in the States. Terry Dawn Oshun teaching about herbs, being out there. Faiza Trini Ogun out in Texas, you know, in the Lukumi space doing amazing work. I mean, there are priestesses out here that are really going hard, you know.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Oshun Yemi Akalatunde and her Black Witchcraft, she's been out here for the longest putting in the work for sisters. I mean, you know, they're out here just waiting to be supported. And if people really want quality information, there's a plethora of Black women who are doing amazing work.
Thank you so much for that, sis. That's, anybody listening, go seek these sisters out and follow their examples. Like, find out what's going on in our immediate communities. Like, what are these young sisters into?
Right.
Who has their ear? You know, what are some things that they enjoy? Like, pull them together, like pull us together and let us help, let us all raise these generations. Let's create this village, right where we are, you know. So now tell me, now I went to your site and I'm going to tell you, I'm very impressed by all the things that you do, like all the things that you have done and all the work that you continue to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. How now? If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
Ooh, girl. Got all up in, but another parts with that. Let's say I'm old enough to order several drinks. I have a teenage daughter. Okay.
Okay.
Mama. And I'm on right on there. Okay.
I got you. Cause I'm gonna tell you, I'm sorry. And I don't usually ask nobody that, but when I go to your site, right? First of all, when I see you speak, even though you present the authority of, you know, an elder, yes, you have like, your skin is so silky and you look so young and your energy is still very youthful, you know? And so I go and I see that you have, you know, all these different things and I'm like, oh, this sister is really, really dope, you know? And, you know, so I'm just saying that to say, you're a very great example, you know, for a lot of sisters. Yes, ma'am.
Record, I'm 34. You know, I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I've been in this tradition pretty much my entire adult life. And since adolescence, actually, I've started getting involved. So the better part, not even the better part, pretty much my entire adult life thus far has been dedicated to these traditions, dedicated to training, learning, and doing as much as I can for both myself and my family. So,
right.
You know, I try to do the best I can to represent my elders well and to represent those who have taken the time to teach me anything, even if it was what not to do, to represent.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Sister Tasha, thank you so much for coming on the Nine Minds Radio Show. I hope that you've enjoyed your time with me as much as I have with you. And yes, ma'am. And hopefully we can talk again soon.
Okay, not a problem. You take care. Get on back to that baby, and we'll talk.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then. Bye.
Bye-bye.